Welcome back to Motoring Box. I'm Sean McKellar. Today we are going to get some parts for my BA XR6 Turbo. We are still chasing a very slight tail shaft vibration. I also managed to score some weights. There's some little clip-on weights for the tail shaft, which you can actually still get them brand new from Ford, which was surprising. So they sell them in 14 different sizes from 1 gram up to 14 grams. So I said, look, give me sizes 1 to 10 and give me one of each. So I've got 10 of them. And just last night, I started troubleshooting it. I clipped on an 8 gram weight in a particular spot. It made it worse, so I moved it to the opposite side. It made it better. So it's kind of like nearly there. So today, after we return to the garage, I'm going to have a look at that as well. And hopefully we can sort of refine the positioning, whether I need to sort of go heavier with the weight, whether I need to go lighter. Do I need to put a couple on sort of beside each other? You can double them up. So that's going to be the project for today. So right now I'm on the way to Repco, West Ipswich. This is actually the only place I could buy the specific Penrite diff fluid. So it should be as simple as draining the existing stuff, chucking this one in. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's go pick this up and see what happens. Never actually been down here before. This is gonna be interesting. I think I'm in the wrong spot. I'm lost. Interesting. Very industrial, not the typical retail store, that's for sure. All right, see you guys soon. Oh, well, by the way, I also ordered something extra. I ordered a new flexible coupling for the tail shaft. It's not something I think strictly needed to be replaced, but it's kind of the last thing on the shaft which hasn't been replaced. So let's just throw it in while we're down there. And then hopefully, if we can sort this, we never need to go under that car ever again. Touch wood grain. Yeah, that's about it, guys. I'm gonna head to Coles on the way home, grab a couple of things, and I'll see you back in the garage. Hey guys, we are underneath the car. A few days have passed, and just in my spare time, I've actually been troubleshooting this. So here's our tail shaft. Here's where the CV bolts to the diff. And you can see on the bolts here, they extend all the way through, and there are 2 little notches on the end of the bolt there, and that is to facilitate or to give you a spot to actually clip these weights on. So these, as I found out, are still available from Ford Australia through their dealers. And as I mentioned before, they actually sell them in weights from 1 gram up to 14 grams. So I got a whole bunch of them from 1 to 10. I got one of each, and I've just been troubleshooting it. So what I originally did is I came down here, I didn't know where to start, and I just clipped it onto a spot. I think it was here. I put a 10 gram weight on here and it made it worse. So I thought, right, let's spin it around to the other side. So I put the 10 gram weight here and it immediately made it better. Not completely fixed, but better. So the question I had then was, is 10 grams too much weight or not enough? So what I did is I stepped it down to an 8 gram and it seemed to be ever so slightly better again, but not completely gone. I then put an 8 gram weight here. It seemed to make it worse, so I took that one off. And then I came back to this side and I've put a few different weights on here, settling on a 5 gram. So we've got an 8 gram and a 5 gram. And I dare say it has made it better. So what I'm gonna do is, instead of adding any more, I'm gonna leave it how it is. And we'll probably need to take this thing out for a test drive and just see how it's going. When it's up here on the jack stands and you run it up to say 100 k's an hour, the car does not vibrate, but there is still a rumbly sound. And I'm not sure if that's just the drivetrain in general. I won't know until it's on the road, but it is not vibrating. So that in itself is a pretty good sign. And yeah, I was quite shocked that these weights are actually still available from Ford through your local Ford dealer. I think they're just called clip-on tail shaft weights, but you need to give them your rego number so they know exactly what car it is, because different cars have different PCDs and different overall diameters. So this is one part of the story. The other part was actually the center bearing. This angle is terrible, but I think the center bearing was also playing a part in some of the vibrations I was getting. But thanks to some of the people in my comment section, I actually just loosened the bolts off this each side of the bearing here a little bit, and I pushed it across to the right. There's actually a couple of mil of play left or right in this thing, so I pushed it across to the right, torqued it up, and it was worse. So I did the opposite. I untorqued it, pushed it across to the left, and then torqued it up again. And that seemed to actually get rid of this sort of vibration I had around 20 k's an hour. So I think that was caused by this. But what I'll do is I'll run the car up again soon and we'll just confirm and see if this thing is moving around anymore. If it is, then I've got no idea. But let me show you something else I've discovered on this car. So here we have our brake rotor. It is looking pretty old and worse for wear, so I'm actually going to replace every single rotor on this car, and I've got a new set of pads for all corners as well on the way. So that is one thing I'm going to look at, but the other one is this drive shaft. So if I just set you down for a second and start this car up, you're going to see something pretty interesting here. So the disc is spinning fairly true. It doesn't seem to be out of round, which is good. But have a look at this drive shaft and see if you can spot what's going on here. See how out of round that is? So obviously there's a tolerance on these sorts of things, but is that too much? So yeah, I don't know if I should be worried about that driver's side drive shaft. I would definitely prefer it to be straight. This one is, yeah, moving a little bit side to side as it spins, but nowhere near as bad as the driver's side. So anything spinning that is not perfectly straight is definitely going to introduce a vibration, but is that going to be bad enough to cause one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Right, I just reviewed the footage of the center bearing. It's still moving slightly, but it's looking a damn sight better than what it did previously, that's for sure. I have a feeling it would be almost impossible to remove every single vibration or bit of movement from it. So I reckon it's looking pretty good. I'm just going to do the same and see if there's any movement in the gearbox as well. I remember last time you could see the whole back of the gearbox here kind of vibrating up and down a little bit. So we'll have a look and we'll see if it's doing the same thing. So I just reviewed the footage, not perfect, but gee, on the small screen here of the camera, it was looking a damn sight better than what it did before. There was still a little bit of movement, sort of vertical movement in the gearbox when I was shuffling through the gears there, but that's probably normal. You're never going to get these things perfectly balanced or perfectly still, I'm guessing. But yeah, looking pretty good. So it's feeling good in the car. I do have a new flexible coupling here for the front, but I'm probably going to just not swap that out yet. But yeah, I think we're kind of on the right track. So let's head out on the road and see how she goes. All right, we are back on the road in the BA Falcon. And have we fixed the problem? Let's find out. Yes! Wowee! This car is way smoother than it's ever been before. Fortunately, it's not going to help me avoid traffic. But wow, this car, holy shit. This has been plaguing me for, geez, probably even before we started building this car up. It had always had a bit of a vibration after 80 k's an hour, and it was slowly getting worse. So, interestingly, perhaps it wasn't the centre bearing all along, because when I got that replaced and the shaft reconditioned, it was still there. So don't get me wrong, that bearing needed to be replaced, but chances are it was not the actual source of the vibration. So if you have a BA or BF Falcon, or say maybe FGs as well, I don't know, but if you have a Falcon that has a vibration through the drivetrain, you've had the tail shaft reconditioned, the centre bearing replaced, do call your local Ford dealer and see if you can order. They call them tail shaft weights. That's how I described it anyway. A clip-on weight clips onto the back of the tail shaft. Just get a couple of them, because they're very cheap. They're like $7 each. Just get a smattering of them, say 1 to 10 grams, just one of each. And that's certainly going to help you troubleshoot what's going on. They're dead set simple to attach. Slap one on. Does it improve it? Yes or no? Move it, try again. That's all I did. Ford actually had a process with a particular tool, like a vibration measurement tool. They had a very scientific way of doing it, but I just did this on my back on the garage floor at home. So it probably could be improved, but like I cannot feel a single vibration. So that is absolutely fantastic news. And that was by far the cheapest part of the fix for ordering those little weights. Amazing. So do let me know your thoughts in the comments below, what you reckon, especially in regards to that rear drive shaft wobbling, the way it wasn't quite spinning true. I cannot hear or feel any problem in regards to that, because it must have all been to do with the tail shaft. But yeah, I prefer it to spin straight, so that might be something I look at in the future. What we're also going to be looking at as well are the brakes. And I do have something special coming on the way for this car as well, because I've spent a lot of money on this car. I'm going to hang on to it for the long term, and yeah, I do want to make it a little bit more special. So there's going to be a very visual modification coming on the way for this car. So that's it, guys. I can enjoy this car now. We might actually start looking at some roll racing or track days or things like that. Probably not going to take it to the drags, but I definitely would love to enjoy this car in an environment where you're not limited to 100 kilometers per hour. So if you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing. If you want to purchase a Homegrown Heroes t-shirt from motoringbox.com, that is a perfect way you can support me. I've got sizes from small all the way through to 6XL, and if you are one of those bigger blokes, I have had raving feedback about how awesome the larger sizes are. The fit on them is incredible, so do check them out, and thank you very much for your support. So yeah, take it easy, and I'll see you next time.